So, at the time of recording, the KC Cup is literally like a few hours away, and also Dragoon has been in the game for almost a full month now, so I thought I would make this video to talk about, well, how Dragoon has been doing in this meta, and if I like it or not. Spoiler alert, I don't like Dragoon. But I do see a lot of people talk about how Dragoon is positioned in this game, how they don't like it, it's like too broken and stuff. So today, let's have a look at actually some reasons of why Dragoon is okay or not okay in Duel Links, or reasons that you're allowed to be mad at Dragoon and reasons that are just not valid. So let's begin with reasons that are the less good reasons, the less valid reasons that some people will talk about. So one of them is that my deck cannot out Dragoon, or like Dragoon is just straight up a broken card, because Dragoon is not a broken card. Dragoon is in the game for a reason, it is free to obtain after all, so Konami must have thought that it is a card that is strong, but has enough outs for it to be available for everyone, otherwise it would have been banned immediately, and the Dragoon deck would be tier 0, but it's not. Because the truth is that there is a lot of decks that have in-engine outs to Dragoon in the year 2026, and also if you don't, there are plenty of cards that you can play that beat it. So if we have a look at Popular Cards tab, the first two cards are literally Droplet and Eclipse, which are the two best Dragoon outs in the game, and also just so happen to be a really good generic quick play staples. So it's just two really good cards in general that you should be playing. And another reason that I see people talk about is that I'm forced to play meta staples. And that's like saying, what do you mean in order to beat this powerful monster I need to play good cards in my deck? Like I want my deck to stay bad so that I can continue being mad and complain online, right? It's like playing the TCG and then complaining that you have to play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. It's like, you gotta play good cards in your deck to beat other good cards. I don't know what to tell you. And another reason that people talk about is that drawing the out is unreliable. And that's something that you can change. You can make it reliable. You can play more copies, play more outs to Dragoon. If your archetype has a huge trouble dealing with Dragoon, you should be playing more non-engine to consistently draw the out. It's like playing a deck in the TCG that's not good going second. What you do is you play more hand traps, play more board breakers, you spend more of a portion of your deck with non-engine so that you can actually beat other decks when you go second. That's what you do. Going second with a 30 card deck in Duel Links, like most decks nowadays play 30 cards, if you play free Droplet and free Eclipse in a 5 card hand, because if you go second, it is an over 70% chance of you opening an out. And if that's not enough, you can play less than 30 cards. Nobody's forcing you to play 30 cards. If you want more consistent outs to Dragoon, you can just play less cards so that you open Droplet or Eclipse more often. Right? So that's just not an issue if you deck build correctly. Okay, with that all out of the way, let's actually talk about some what I think is good are good reasons to be mad about Dragoon, which I have curated in this small little list. So the first, what I think is a valid argument, is that you are forced to deck build in a way so that a sizable portion of your deck are Dragoon outs, so that you can reliably win the Dragoon minigame. Because outing Dragoon in a deck that doesn't have an out to Dragoon is basically a minigame. It's like the maxi minigame. Did you draw Ash or Cold Buy? If you don't, you lose, right? Same thing with Dragoon. If your deck doesn't have an in-engine out to Dragoon, basically what you're doing is that you're gonna play some outs in the main deck, and then you're gonna play the mini game of if you draw the out or not, and then if you draw the out, you can out the Dragoon. Which, I mean, it's not really like a really difficult minigame to win, because if you build your deck correctly, most of your deck, like a significant amount of your deck should be non-engine that beats Dragoon if your deck cannot beat Dragoon. Or just like good cards in general, like Droplet and Eclipse, right? So if you deck building correctly, you should have enough outs to reliably draw at least one of them. But like, that's not good gameplay, that's boring. Because it's like the same idea with FTKs. If you play against an FTK, most FTKs are not that good. They lose to themselves even when they go first, and if they go second, they just auto-lose anyway. They are statistically more likely to lose than they are to win, at least most of the time when the FTKs are actually more gimmick than competitive. But if you play against an FTK, even if you win or lose, it's not fun. It's not a fun gameplay dynamic, because you're just flipping a coin and then just seeing if your opponent FTKs, right? And that's just not very fun. I guess it's better than stuff we had back in the day with like El Shaddoll Winder and Evil Swarm Ophion, which are just floodgates that completely stop some decks from playing the game, because a lot of decks at least can out Dragoon in this meta, so it doesn't completely wall off a lot of decks from playing entirely. So if they are allowed to, you know, just keep playing through that one negate, a lot of decks can eventually out the Dragoon in engine, but it's still not very fun, especially for decks that need to rely on the Forbidden Droplet or Eclipse to actually deal with the Dragoon. And a second reason is that there are pretty much only two good generic Dragoon outs that are worth playing, which are Droplet and Eclipse, that I've talked about a lot. So if your deck doesn't out Dragoon on its own, and you want to play cards that can deal with Dragoon, you pretty much only have two options. You have Droplet and Eclipse. Those are the two exact cards that you should be considering in your deck and nothing else, because these two cards are just good cards. They are good cards on their own. They beat other stuff that are not Dragoon. They're good going first, they're good going second. And other outs, like Kaijus. Kaijus are not in the popular cards tab because they are not popular for a reason. So Kaijus are also outs to Dragoon. In fact, they are more cheap than Droplet and Eclipse, but a lot of decks cannot play it because it is a monster that you special summon. So if your skill locks you, you cannot play Kaijus. And also if you go first, the Kaijus don't do anything. And also it's a lot less good against other decks, because Droplet can deal with multiple monsters at once, as well as Eclipse, but Kaijus deal with a single monster, and that's it. So if you don't have a lot of gems or money, you can't even use free-to-play options like Kaijus a lot of the times, because a lot of skills just don't let you play the Kaijus. So you're pretty much forced to get Droplet and Eclipse, which are cards from main boxes, and that sucks if you don't have them already, because you're forced to basically waste gems or money to get those staples. But I guess staples have been a thing always in Yu-Gi-Oh! As you always had to spend some amount of money or gems to get those staples anyway, but in order to beat Dragoon, you need these very two specific staples. Otherwise, you don't really have a reliable way of outing Dragoon if your deck doesn't out Dragoon. And the last thing that I want to talk about that I don't like Dragoon about is that it's a miserable new player experience, because Dragoon just so happens to be a completely free to obtain card that is from an archetype that's popular in the anime. So it's a Red Eyes deck. People can get Red Eyes pretty easily. They can just buy the structure deck, and a lot of the Red Eye support is completely free. So it's so easy to make a cheap Red Eyes deck, but inside this really cheap Red Eyes deck that a lot of new players can afford is this one big fungus that's hard to out, and gatekeeps a lot of the other, basically, new player options from the low ranked, because Dragoon is such a menace, right? So if you are a new player, you pretty much have only two options. You either play Red Eyes Dark Dragoon yourself, or you play one of the few decks that out it, like exactly Hero, because Hero has Super Poly, but that's pretty much all you've got, right? So you either play Red Eyes, or you play Hero because it beats Red Eyes, or you can also spend a lot of time to actually learn a meta deck, like a top tier deck that beats Dragoon, that has like in-engine outs, but like realistically, if you're a new player, that's gonna take a lot of time, and you're gonna be forced to build an expensive deck probably, and that's just not good. That's not a really good new play experience. But well, I'm not in Rookie for a very long time. I don't know if everybody is literally all playing Red Eyes in low rank, so I can't really say for sure how their new player experience is like, but I imagine it's not very fun. So yeah, it's not exactly the best experience for new players, is basically the point. So the deck you see that I've been showing on screen is basically what I've been using in ranked myself. It's Punk with the Power of All Creation skill, because the Punk skill sucks. Everybody pretty much agrees with that. And I have a little Tachyon package, basically, to be able to search floodgates when I go first. Because the combo basically is that if you have two level 8s on your field, which Punk very easily can accomplish, is that you can make a copy of Dragluxion, and then add a copy of Tachyon Primal, summon it to your opponent's field, add the counter trap, and then use your skill because your opponent now has a monster, and then you add either Stygian Dirge against Tachyon or Non-Fusion Area against Branded, and then you set it, and then you make a copy of Tachyon Dragon using your Dragluxion, and then you rank up into a full armor Photon and then pop the thing that you gave your opponent. So now you both have a Floodgate and a counter trap to protect your Floodgate. So that's what I've been doing myself to basically counter Dragoon, or other decks that play Dragoon, like Branded, is to play Floodgates, which is not very fun on its own, but like it is a good meta call. Also, if you go second, you get to use your skill to add the Droplet or Eclipse, so that you don't have to play the minigame, the Dragoon minigame. You can always have the out. But having to rely on these things to reliably out Dragoon is just not very fun. I mean, you could just play a deck that doesn't lose to Dragoon, but if you just so happen to be playing a deck that doesn't have an out, that's what you've got to do. So yeah, let me know what you think about your thoughts of Dragoon. Tell me if you agree with what I've said or not, because ultimately, many decks in the game nowadays have ways to beat Dragoon in engine, so it's not that big of a deal for most decks. That's ultimately why, if you look at the most popular cards, Dragoon is all the way at the very bottom, right? There's a reason why like every single Despia branded card and Tachyon card are more popular than Dragoon, right? But it is also really clear that this card is just very annoying, and I'm not exactly happy that it is in the game, and every once in a while I have to deal with it. And I still just don't like the design of the card in general, and the gameplay that it forces people to play. So, thanks for watching, and tell me what you think, and goodbye.